everybody, it's Graham Ledger, and it's 4th of July, 2025, the 250th anniversary or birthday of this republic. And yes, the folks in Washington, D.C., who keep calling us a democracy need to be reminded that we are a republic, a constitutional republic and or a representative republic, not a democracy. But here we go again. Happy 4th of July. Do you know who said this? We recognize no sovereign but God, and we answer to no king but Jesus. It's very relevant to the 4th of July, and I want to remind folks on the 250th birthday of the United States of America that this country, the Declaration of Independence and the original United States Constitution, were founded on the Bible. Not the Old Testament, the New Testament, the Christian Bible. Not the teachings of Buddha, not the Quran, not any kind of twisted interpretation of the foundation of the United States Constitution. Yes, the Magna Carta played a role, but the Magna Carta, I don't know the history of it, certainly includes themes and elements of the New Testament. In our Constitution, we protect individual liberty. In the Christian Bible, the New Testament, we recognize individual salvation. The two are like a yin and a yang. They go hand in glove. This country was founded on the Christian Bible, the New Testament. And on this birthday, I think it's important to remind ourselves that's the fact. And don't let anybody tell you differently. It's very important that we understand our roots. When we see things going on this week, the first week of July 2025, right on the precipice of celebrating the 250th birthday of this country, in Minneapolis, St. Pete, they're celebrating Somali Independence Day. They're celebrating Somali Independence Day this week, the same week. What an insult. What a tragedy. How disgusting. How low can this country sink? If we go down fighting. And I'm going to go down fighting. Sure, we've got some rays of hope, but when you step back at the big picture, you see what I see. The Bible was the most frequently quoted reference when our founders, the framers of the Constitution, began shaping the documents that form this country. That is, the Declaration of Independence and the original Constitution of the United States. It was the most frequently cited source between 1860 and 1805. The founding, the first 30 years of this country. Thomas Paine, of course, he was known for his piece of literary work called Common Sense, which was originally a pamphlet that was passed around. They did pamphlets right around the time of the forming of this country. Common Sense effectively made the argument for American independence. Thomas Paine, quote, "But where, says some, is the King of America? I'll tell you, friend, he reigns above." Now, was Thomas Paine talking about God in general? Or was he talking about Jesus Christ? It's a little vague, but does it matter for those of us who believe and those of us who understand Christianity and the Holy Trinity? So, is there a King of America? Thomas Paine says, hell yes. There is a King of America, and it's God, aka Jesus Christ. But maybe the most quintessential story to remind people on this 4th of July of why this country and how this country was founded on people who believed in Jesus Christ and who believed in the New Testament was Jonas Clark, a pastor. And I've thought about Jonas Clark a lot lately, especially in the last year as we were approaching the 2024 election, and I was trying to engage pastors, Christian pastors, to get up on the pulpit and endorse Donald Trump, and I don't know of a single one that did. They're more worried about answering to government than they are about answering to God. I would say to them, who in the end are you going to answer to, Pastor? Are you going to answer to God, or are you going to answer to government? And by government, I mean they're all so terribly worried about their 501c3 status that they're afraid to go out there and say, hey, if you voted for Kamala Harris, you're committing a sin. For multiple reasons, including the fact that Kamala Harris believes in abortion all the way up until birth, no doubt. I don't know exactly her stance on it, but she's pro-abortion, we all know that. Pastor Jonas Clark was one of the men who on Sundays preached, and then when he needed to, he picked up a musket and he fought for the independence of this country. And the year was 1775 in April, so it was over a year before we declared our independence from Great Britain. And it was Lexington, Massachusetts, where Jonas Clark lived. And he, right around the time that Paul Revere was literally, on the night that Paul Revere, I believe it was mid-April, was out saying infamously, the British are coming, the British are coming. Paul Revere had a destination. People don't know this, but Paul Revere had a destination. It wasn't just running around Lexington, Massachusetts, warning of the British coming. He did that, but he also had a destination, a final stop, and it was Jonas Clark's house. And in the house of Jonas Clark were two special guests, Samuel Adams and John Hancock. Both of those men had a bounty on their heads, and the British were coming probably for them, probably to arrest or execute John Hancock and Samuel Adams. So they were all meeting at Jonas Clark's house. Why? Well, this was the moment in time. This was the moment that the folks who knew we had to fight for independence understood that we had to pick up arms at that moment because the British were coming. And so Adams and Hancock asked Jonas Clark, will the men of Lexington, Massachusetts fight? Are they ready? Pastor Clark answered to them, yes, an affirmative. We have been training for this moment. Now think about this. This is a man of the cloth. This is a man who on Sundays was a preacher, a leader, respected member of the community, but he was also a leader away from the pulpit. That's what we need in this country. We need pastors, certainly, who are unafraid to get up there and say, hey, you know, what you witnessed in July in Pennsylvania, the assassination attempt of Donald Trump, that was a miracle. We all saw the video. He's turning, then a severe turn, and the shots are fired. That was unbelievable. Donald Trump should be dead. That was a miracle. You hate Donald Trump. You're a pastor. You're a Christian. You still need to recognize a miracle that we all witnessed on national and international television. That's what we need. We need Jonas Clarks right now. As many as possible. So Clark says we trained for this very hour. The next morning, Jonas Clark leads his men. They were known as the Minutemen, and they took their positions as the British approached. And the British said to them, lay down your arms. Lay down your arms, you Minutemen, you men of the soon-to-be United States of America, the folks who are going to declare independence about a year and a couple of months later from this moment. You know what Jonas Clark said in his response? That quote that I said a couple of minutes ago, we recognize no sovereign but God and no king but Jesus. We recognize no sovereign but God and no king but Jesus. And from that moment, they opened fire, and those were the shots heard around the world, and the rest is history. So on this 4th of July, would you please remember Jonas Clark and that little story I just told you? That there is a king of America. There is a king. We have a president, his name is Donald Trump, but we have a king, and it's Jesus Christ. And remember 2 Corinthians 3:17, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. I have the Spirit of the Lord. I hope you do too. God bless you. I'm Graham Ledger. Thanks for watching. And remember, even evil can only prevail when good is silent.